You and your mother opened your case today because your first love, the defendant, denies he fathered your 21-month-old son, Jabari. You are a single teenage mother who needs help, and you demand Mr. Johnson step up and be a father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, you are in court with your mother and say you might have been the plaintiff's first love, but you weren't the only one. You refused to do anything for her son until the DNA results prove you are his biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Short, you say you need help.
Yes.
Explain.
Yes, because he's the father of my son, and my son, as a boy, need a father figure. And I need extra help, like while I'm in school.
We got to do this for Jabari. Stop. She just need to know, is he the father? So he can step up and do the right thing, hopefully. You know, we can't make him, but we need to know, because I did stop him from coming over because I didn't want no feelings to get involved, like them to get attached if he wasn't the father, because she did tell them it's a possibility you may not be the father.
Jabari is almost 2 years old. How did you meet?
Well, it was on Facebook, and we used to text. He was my first kiss, first everything.
Okay, so after you met, you all started having sex, and at some point, you find out you're pregnant.
Yes. Me and Mr. Johnson had sex April 23rd. I seen him on Facebook with another female, and he was like, I don't want you, I want her. He was talking about the other female. And I was like, he just left. He just left me. After that happened, it was May 3rd. I went out to eat with some friends. And
okay.
That night, I had met the other boy. And this is not my first time meeting him, but this the first time we ever had sex. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, Mr. Johnson don't care about me, why not?
Okay, so did you confront that other guy?
I sure did.
Did you say, I'm pregnant and you're the father?
I said possibility.
She really believes in her heart is Mr. Johnson.
All right,
I'm hoping it's not.
Mr. Johnson, at what point did you realize Miss Short was even pregnant?
See, Your Honor, I was away. I found out she was pregnant 6 months into her pregnancy.
Okay, and were you informed that you were the biological father?
Yes, ma'am. She told my mom that she was pregnant and I could be the father. So at the time, I'm thinking that the baby's mine. But at the end of the day, when I come home from being away, I got her friends coming to me, talking to me about the other dude. So you know how they making me feel. I was there to see the baby conceive. I was the one that had the baby. I was there. When she called me and asked me for stuff, I was there to help her.
All right, I want to hear from you, Miss Mabry, because you remember having this conversation with Miss Short?
Yes, ma'am.
You did, and you said to her, if you need anything, just let me know.
Yes, and it also went further into a blood test. They wanted me to do a blood test because this other dude saying he wanted to know if DeMaze was the father. If DeMaze's not the father, that makes him be the father. I'm not gonna go through all that. And another thing about the baby, when we try to get the baby, she have to come and sit with us. We can't get the baby, and she talking about flexing and front and all this. We was trying to be involved with this baby, even though we know it was a possibility that it's not my son baby.
And I could back her up on that. It was times that I tried to come see the baby, but her mother wouldn't let me come to the house.
She still try to do
her mother wouldn't let me come to the house.
So have somebody with you when you come.
I don't.
You can't never come by yourself.
So hold on, ladies, before we go there and all that, this is the issue I'm having at this point. I need to establish a connection. I need to establish a reason why, Miss Short, you decided that Mr. Johnson is the biological father of your child when you said you also had slept with another person as well.
I'm going by the dates. My due date was January 14th.
Okay.
I had him January 8th. I had sex with Mr. Johnson April 23rd. And May 3rd is just too close.
So, Miss Short, the bottom line is the other person that was a possibility, you reached out to them as well to say that it is a possibility that he could be the biological father. You also know that Mr. Johnson is a very real possibility because of the close proximity of the time you had sex with Mr. Johnson and the time you had sex with the other guy, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'd like to see your evidence. Hand it to me, please, Jerome. So this is a communication between you and Mr. Johnson, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is something he wrote to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
He writes, I'll be there for you and my child. I love all mine. That one thing you ain't got to worry about. I'm going to be a great father to my children. So he wrote that letter and promised you in that moment that he was going to be a good father to his child. And believed, it seems, that it was his child.
Yeah.
Do you remember writing that, Mr. Johnson?
I remember writing that letter, but at the time I thought that Jabari was mine. Me growing up 20 years, I never had a father. If he's mine, I'm going to be the blank end of that discussion.
So when you wrote that letter, you had no idea the other guy existed.
I didn't know nothing about the
It wasn't
other dude.
until you got back home and then people told you there is another guy, and then once you confronted her about it, she admitted that yes, there was.
Yes.
And there is another possibility, and there is a question of paternity, which is why you're here. And what is troubling me in this moment, I have done my best to be patient. I have been frustrated. I have been trying to be compassionate because you all are young people. And now you've gotten yourself into this whole big drama with adult situations and adult problems. You can't even string 2 good sentences together in this courtroom about the situation, much less be prepared to take care of a living child, this beautiful little boy, almost 2 years old. And this is babies having babies, and this has got to stop. Now, Mr. Johnson, you say you got more than one child. How many children do you have?
I have 4, with Jabari, I have 5 in all.
So you got 4 other children.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jabari would make 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say
And you're
something?
20 years old?
Yes.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are the father.
Like I said, I'll be there for him.
Good. I'm glad you will.
This all I want to know to get all the other extra stuff out the way.
You have to.
They shouldn't have took this.
But no, Miss Short,
shouldn't
this happens in life.
Yes.
It should not have taken this, but it did.
Yes, Your Honor.
And we're here now.
Yes, Your Honor.
And now you at least have the answer.
Yes.
So now we've got to figure out how to get you two on the right path to be able to raise this child together. So let's get real. You all are going to have to work out together when and how you all will see the baby, when Mr. Johnson and his family will be able to see the baby. And you can do this in your living room or you can do this through the courtroom. It's up to you, because if not, the court will order him to pay support, and they will also set guidelines for which he can see the child. And the best example you can set for Jabari in this moment is to go after your dreams. But it's more to being a father than just running around and taking pictures for Facebook.
Hello? Hello.
I'm just telling you.
I don't even get on Facebook.
But you know my point.
Yeah.
It's more than just pictures and this and sneakers. It is food, it is care, it is time, it is setting the example, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Mitchell, you are here in the court today because you claim your childhood sweetheart stole your virginity, got you pregnant, and is now denying paternity of your 2-month-old daughter, Rylan.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Robinson, in your defense, you claim you doubt paternity because after Ms. Mitchell told you she was pregnant, you found out she was sleeping with 4 other men.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Mitchell, explain to the court, how did you get yourself in this messy situation?
Well, Your Honor, we hung out a few times and he pressured me to have sex with him, and I said I wasn't ready yet. And so then I was hanging out at these apartment complexes and we hooked up and had sex. I lost my virginity and I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks later.
Wow. So, Mr. Robinson, is that account true?
No, Your Honor. We hooked up. 1 time. That was it.
One time.
Okay.
One time.
Well, that's about all you need
yeah,
is one
that's
time.
about.
Did you use protection?
One time.
Did you use protection?
No.
No protection. All right, so that's a recipe for,
Disaster.
well, no, for baby making.
Well, in
And
her
for
case,
responsibility
disaster.
and
In her case,
consequence.
Disaster.
So hold on now, ma'am. Hold on one second. I'm gonna get to you in one moment. So you tell him you're pregnant.
Yeah.
She
And
didn't
what
even
was-
tell me she was pregnant, Your
my
Honor.
friend
She had
called-
one of her friends she grew up with inboxed me and her on Facebook and said, I'm not trying to start no drama. I thought I'd let you know that she had sex with 4 other guys. Okay?
Let me get this story straight. You start getting messages
Yes,
from
Your
the peanut gallery
Yes, Your Honor. From her best friend, Your Honor.
telling you
My best friend wouldn't say that.
they just want to give
not
you the
true.
heads up that she was sleeping with other people.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
that you don't think you're necessarily the only potential candidate.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you don't have a doubt at that time until you get Facebook messages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's it from you. Ms. Mitchell, you say he took your virginity,
Yeah, he did.
but did you have sex with somebody else?
I never had sex
Right
with him,
after
but
he took it?
No, not at
So
all.
did you have sex with anyone
No,
else
I've
during
never
the
had-
window of conception?
No.
Who are these people telling him these stories?
I don't know.
then? Do
They
you know?
won't tell me, so I don't know.
So people just lying on
Yeah.
you.
It's him lying and her.
Oh, so you don't think he even ever got the messages?
No, not at all.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the birth. You have the baby. Is Mr. Robinson with you?
No, but his sister was.
His sister came.
Yes, I sent my sister, Your
So
Honor.
he wasn't at the, you sent her.
Yes, because I had got arrested the night of, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be 100% honest with you, Your Honor. So I said, Erica, I said, will you do me a favor? She said, what, bub? I said, will you make sure you go to the hospital for me? She said, yes, I will.
So Rylan was born on May 7th, and you, Mr. Robinson, you were arrested on May 9th.
Your Honor, no.
The
I
arrest
was arrested 5/8 of 2014. In the morning.
Okay,
in
but
the
she was
morning.
born on
at
the
10
7th.
o'clock on the morning, I was arrested, okay? And that was the day the file, I have more than just one charge that they picked me up on. Trust and believe, I don't have no shame in my game. I was picked up on more than one charge.
And I was laying in a bed for 14 hours in labor.
He literally.
And you chose to lay down
The
his bed.
guy,
Okay, and nobody asked
you
me.
had nothing in it. You had nothing in it.
Okay,
He
but-
cheated on
I
you.
do. He didn't cheat on me, sweetie. We wasn't together. I've never done anything to this girl ever. I've never disrespected
She's
her. I
immature
never
and
nothing.
childish,
She's on
Your Honor.
Facebook
She's 18 years
updating
old
her
and she's
status about
immature
me.
and childish. That's my point.
She updated her status about me all the time, claiming that I was on Facebook talking about her, and I wasn't.
Oh, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah,
Who
nobody
cares?
cares about that.
But I know, I'm so sick of who cares? Who cares? This is just getting ridiculous. You all in this Facebook and this, if you all would have just stayed on Facebook instead of laying down in the bed with no protection, we wouldn't be here. But now you all want to talk about Facebook all day. And I want you all to understand that beautiful
Your Honor, I
little girl
take
is
care
what
of her.
matters.
This is a beautiful baby. This is an intelligent baby, and it is about her, and that is why we're here today. Ryan, when Hope come to me and told me that she was pregnant, first of all, I never believed it was her. The very next day, I took her to the doctor. Yes, she is pregnant. I want to meet this man. I met him. He took me to his mother's house. It was a good time. I mean, it was a nice day. I thought, okay, well, maybe he's going to be okay. Well, then, evidently, he's back with Heather or whatever, and everything changes.
Have you told Mr. Robinson that he can come and see Rylan only if he leaves Miss Hitchcock at home?
Leaves her to come to my house to visit her, but not leave her relationship-wise.
Your point is you don't want Miss Hitchcock at your house.
No, and I don't want her around my
Your
daughter
Honor, she
either.
doesn't even look like me or
Okay.
my son.
She
So
looks
Miss-
like... I got
She
evidence.
doesn't even look like me or my son, who is a spitting image. My son, and when I tell you he's a spitting image of me,
Just like Hope.
my son is a spitting image of me. Like, and when I tell you
text
that,
message.
Hold
saying
on.
he
What
wants
is this
nothing to do with
evidence
her.
you have? Jerome, will you please hand me this evidence?
look at my son and look at her. They look nothing alike.
She looks
That
like
is
me.
my identical twin.
She looks like
That
me.
is my
her
identical
mother
twin.
when her
She looks
mother
nothing
So
like
you
me.
submitted these photos
Yes,
to
I
the
did.
court.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And this is a picture of Rylan,
And my
which is
son.
Hope's daughter, and your son on the right.
That looks like Heather.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't
No, it
look
looks like
you.
me.
It doesn't
just like
look like
me.
you.
And you're saying you don't see a resemblance
Family
between
members,
these two children.
No, honestly, I
Well,
don't.
they have two different
No.
moms. She looks just like me.
Now this picture,
Is of me and our 3 kids, which 2 of them are biologically not mine. But I've been there so much to them that they look up to me as a father figure.
in the case of Mitchell v. Robinson, when it comes to 2-month-old Rylan Mitchell, Mr. Robinson, you are the father. So now, before I ask Ms. Mitchell if it would be okay if you meet your daughter for the first time, I have to say, concerning the arbitration, where you were asking the court for $337.50, that's what you would be entitled to if it was determined that Mr. Robinson was in fact Rylan's biological father. It has been determined that you are. And so I am awarding Ms. Mitchell $337.50, which is half of the child care expenses for baby Rylan's 2.5 months she's been here. And she's spent and she's presented receipts for. So you owe her that money. Do we understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so the judgment is for the plaintiff on that. And now I have to ask you, can this man please see his little girl?
Please, that's all I want. That's all I want.
I
is
will
to
meet
hold
you
her
all
and
in my
kiss her.
chambers. Court is adjourned. Mr. Johnson, you say the defendant, Mrs. Carr, has been playing an emotional DNA game with you over her daughter's paternity for the past 18 years. You've brought her to court to finally end this game and prove you are not her daughter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Mrs. Carr, you say that Mr. Johnson has been dodging a DNA test and his responsibilities as a father since the day you told him you were pregnant. You claim the only reason he is denying her is because you are married and will no longer sleep with him. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, what upsets you the most about this?
The lies, the up and down roller coaster. 1 minute I'm not her father, the next minute I am. It's been a burden with this paternity, you know.
Ms. Carr, you say this is not true, what he's saying.
Your Honor, Mr. Johnson has always acknowledged my daughter, and he has always attempted to be in her
Your
life.
Honor, that's incorrect. When her daughter was first born, her father came to my house, sat me down on my couch, and said that they had a DNA test with another man, and I was not the father. He was the father.
Take me back to the nature of this relationship. You all used to be boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, ma'am. My uncle married her auntie,
Okay.
and they adopted her. I used to go over their house and help him out, like cutting grass and things of that nature, and I would stay the night, and they would allow us to sleep in the same room. We had sex one time.
Okay.
One time. It was a lot of touchy-feely before, and the one time we had sex, it was, you know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Well, do you agree that you had sex with him just one time?
I agree that we had sex on multiple times. We have had sex
And
more
at
than
some
one
point
time.
you realized you pregnant?
Yes, ma'am. At the time I was young, I was just coming on my menstrual, so this was still new to me. So it was brought to my attention that my menstrual was late or it had not come on when it was supposed to. So I was taken to the doctor and later on determined I was pregnant. I then called Mr. Johnson and told Mr. Johnson that I was pregnant. And Mr. Johnson's response was, I'm going to Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, right, I was moving back to Dayton, Ohio at this particular time. Family members were there. It was an emotional day, but she gave me a call, I'm pregnant. Do you think it's yours? Wait, do I think it's mine? Do you think it's mine is the question. You know what I'm saying?
We never
As she
had the
called.
conversation about, do you think it's yours? It was just, I'm moving to Ohio. And
Your
that
Honor, I
was the end
remember
of the
this conversation verbatim. You hear me?
So,
Like, this is something I cannot forget. Well, I remember the whole day like it was yesterday, crying and snotting. I told my family member after I got off the phone with Miss Carr, I could have a baby on the way.
at that time you had a boyfriend.
I did tell him, I pursued it with him, and it went nowhere.
When you say you pursued it with him,
Right.
what do you
When
mean?
you pursued it with the other guy, what did that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean specifically?
She told him he was the father That's why they came to my house 2 years later and told me they had a DNA test with
There was
another
no
guy.
DNA test.
So
There was
when
never
you
a DNA
found
test.
out that you were pregnant, you told Mr. Johnson and you told the
did.
boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am. I left that part out. I apologize.
Okay, now this is coming together. So you got the boyfriend and you told both.
I told both.
Mr. Johnson said, I'm moving away. So at that point, when the baby was born, you still had your boyfriend, right?
There was no one involved. No one. No one's name went on her birth
how did
certificate.
he get excluded from the equation?
No one was involved.
And you never did a DNA test with the ex-boyfriend?
We had a DNA test within the last 3 years.
Wow.
Me and the other father.
And you did not know this, Mr.
No,
Johnson?
ma'am, I didn't.
Mr. Johnson has been active in her life periodically.
At one point in time, after her father came to my house and said that I wasn't the father, I moved on with my life. Maybe about 5, 6 years later, I had my first daughter. They see how I'm interacting with her, and so I guess they say, this is your daughter now.
No, this is not true.
Let me tell you, I seen the daughter in a grocery store. She runs up to me. She run up to me, like, Daddy. I'm shocked at the moment, like, what the, wait a minute, Daddy. When I tell you I'm looking for cameras to pop out, I thought I was on a prank show or something. Like,
how old is she?
She's about 5 or 6 at this time.
Your Honor, this is my first time ever hearing this story about the grocery store.
Okay, so let's hear it.
She run up to me like, Daddy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, okay. Hey, I want to say I'm not your daddy, but I can't tell this little girl this, you know what I'm saying? I recognized the family members, so I just assumed this was Miss
her.
May. But I'm confused as to why she's calling me daddy. So I'm asking for a DNA test. Like, no, you can't just say that she's my daughter without me getting a DNA test.
So what happened when you requested the DNA test after the run-in at the grocery store, Mr. Johnson?
It never happened. So about 3 to 4 years later, I move in with a family member that they are close to. And Miss May is constantly interacting with these family members. So she comes to the family member's house and like, your daughter is coming. Like, this is not my daughter.
That is untrue.
Can I finish my story? I said, I need a DNA test. And all the family like, no, she's yours. You don't need to get a DNA test. And she looked like another family member when she was younger. And so I'm just full of emotion. And so against my better judgment, even without the DNA test, I started accepting Miss May as my child.
What memories do you have of Mr. Johnson being in your life?
Memories with Mr. Johnson. My 10th birthday, he threw me a party at the water park. I remember that. And then there was the time from summer after 5th grade. I remember that day because he made me stay in the house while all my cousins playing outside.
There was a lot of boys out there. She was the only girl.
I was not.
And so when's the last time you saw Mr. Johnson?
Last time I saw Mr. Johnson was the 5th grade summer. It was probably around 2010.
So you have not seen her or laid eyes on her?
No, ma'am, and she's extremely beautiful.
Yes. Ms. May, what was your understanding as it related to your paternity? What were you told?
I was told by family members that he was my father, and they would show me pictures of him, and they was like, oh, you look just like him. And so I was like, okay, that's my dad. And growing up, my mother had told me that he was a part of my life, and so I don't have that many memories with him. After Mr. Johnson left me, that's when the man I call my father, Mr. Carr over there, that's when he came and stepped up and took his place. And so all these years I was like, okay, so, you know, he doesn't want to spend time with me. And so I recently got in contact with him and over social media and asked, are you going to come to my graduation, or are you going to lie and say you're coming and then not show up?
I have copies of text messages.
Jerome, let me see that, please.
This is not the whole conversation, but it's just the part that really stood out.
She said, what, you don't want to talk to your firstborn that you abandoned?
Because he asked to contact my mother. He has told me to tell my mother to call him.
And so You said, I did abandon you. I take responsibility for my actions, but it's a lot you don't know. And then Amber writes back, well, I'm of age. Please enlighten me, Brandon. And then you say, you may not be my daughter. We were supposed to get a paternity test about 4 or 5 years ago, but your mom never went through with it.
Correct.
And when you reached out, all you wanted was your biological father and the man you know to be your father figure in your life. You wanted them to be at your graduation. In the case of Johnson versus Carr May, when it comes to Amber May, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Johnson, you are her father.
Time.
How do you
My
feel?
parents.
How do you feel? Absolutely, honey.
Okay. It's okay.
We came here for a beautiful young woman who deserves to know who her biological father is. And now we have that answer.
Yes, we do.
And I am so thankful that you have Mr. Carr in your life, and I'm so happy that your mother has been there for you. Every girl needs her daddy, and you've been blessed with two.